It was a chilly October evening. The air smelled like fallen leaves and pumpkin spice. Emma was busy preparing her apartment for her Halloween dinner party. Orange and black streamers hung from the walls, and pumpkins with carved faces smiled from every corner. Her dining table looked beautiful, set with her best plates and decorated with small skulls and fake cobwebs. "Perfect," Emma whispered to herself, adjusting a candle in the middle of the table. At exactly 7 o'clock, her guests began to arrive. First, Max and Lily showed up, both dressed as spooky skeletons with rattling bones. Then Mike came in wearing a creepy clown outfit, complete with white face paint and a red nose. Emma's best friend, Jenny, arrived last, dressed as a mysterious fortune teller with a long flowing robe and a crystal ball in hand.
"This place looks amazing, Emma,"
Jenny said with a big smile, looking around at all the decorations.
"Thanks. I wanted it to be special for my first Halloween party."
Everyone moved to the living room and grabbed glasses of red punch that looked like blood. Emma felt proud as her guests admired the decorations and costumes. Everything was going just as she had planned. But then, just as she was about to make a toast, a loud knock echoed from the front door. The guests looked at each other, confused. "Are we expecting anyone else?" Max asked. Emma shook her head.
"No, everyone's here."
Curious, she went to the door and opened it, thinking maybe it was a neighbor or someone playing a trick. But when she opened the door, no one was there. The hallway was completely empty. "Hello?" Emma called out, stepping into the hallway. No answer. The only sound was the faint hum of the wind outside and the soft buzz of the dim overhead lights. She shrugged and closed the door, trying to laugh it off.
"Probably just some kids messing around."
They moved into the dining room, ready to start dinner. But when they looked at the table, everyone froze. There was an extra place setting, a new plate, fork, knife, and glass. It hadn't been there before.
"Emma, did you add another seat?"
Lily asked, her voice shaky. Emma's heart raced as she spoke.
"No, I didn't."
The group stood there, staring at the extra setting. Nobody spoke for a moment. The silverware, plate, and glass matched the others perfectly, as if they had always been part of the table. "Come on. One of you must be joking," Mike said, trying to sound brave. But no one laughed. Emma took a deep breath to steady herself.
"Let's not let this ruin the night. I'm sure there's a simple explanation,"
she said, managing a weak smile. Everyone sat down, though the mood had changed. As they started to eat, strange things continued to happen. The candles flickered wildly, though there was no wind. The room felt colder and the guests shivered despite the warm apartment. Halfway through the meal, Jenny gasped and pointed at the empty chair.
"Look."
They all turned to see the napkin at the extra place setting slowly lift into the air, as if an invisible hand was unfolding it. It floated gently back down onto the table. Lily clutched Max's arm.
"This isn't funny anymore.
Emma's hands shook as she spoke.
I promise, I didn't do this."
Before anyone could reply, the lights went out entirely, shrouding the room in darkness. The only source of light came from the tall, flickering candle flames. In the candlelight, they watched in horror as the chair at the extra place setting slowly slid out from the table. The sound of wood scraping against the floor echoed in the silent room.
"There's someone sitting there,"
Mike whispered, his voice barely audible. Indeed, the chair appeared to be occupied by something or someone they couldn't see. The napkin lifted again, and this time it moved as if someone was wiping their mouth. The fork shifted slightly on the table, as though someone had just placed it down. Jenny stood up suddenly, her face pale. "I think we should leave." Everyone quickly stood up, grabbing their coats and bags. But before they could make it to the door, a cold wind rushed through the room, blowing out the candles. In the pitch black, they heard the sound of glass breaking and plates crashing to the floor. Emma's heart was pounding in her chest as she fumbled for the door. Her hand finally found the doorknob, and she threw it open. Light from the hallway spilled into the room, and the guests hurried out. But just as they were about to leave, they stopped in their tracks, staring in horror at the dining room. The table was in complete chaos. Plates and glasses were smashed on the floor, and food was splattered across the walls. But the most terrifying sight was the message written on the wall in what looked like blood. Thank you for the lovely evening. Screaming, they all ran out of the apartment building and didn't stop until they were safely on the street. They stood there gasping for breath, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Emma looked up at her apartment window and froze. Standing in the window was a ghostly figure, wearing old-fashioned clothes, holding a glass and a toast. The figure slowly faded away, leaving Emma in shock. In the days that followed, they tried to forget what had happened. But they soon learned that many years ago, on Halloween night, a lonely old man had died in Emma's apartment. He had been forgotten, left alone at his dinner table. His body wasn't found for days. Emma never hosted another dinner party after that. In fact, she moved out of the apartment as soon as she could. But every Halloween, she still feels the need to set an extra place at her table, just in case her uninvited guest returns.